to the Spotlight. I'm Nick Candela alongside Nick Seluk, as promised. Designer and illustrator for the Awkward Yeti.
That's right.
So what is the Awkward Yeti and how did you get started doing something like that?
Well, the Awkward Yeti was originally a painting that I had made. I was doing art shows, and I'm not a very good painter, but a friend of mine really liked the character, so I made him into a children's book.
Okay.
And so the children's book was made at the end of 2012, and I was sort of trying to get the concept of awkwardness to little kids. I have a very young autistic sister, and so I thought it would be interesting to approach this in a humorous way and kind of just show kids at an early age that everybody's the same, everybody's awkward in their own ways, and that's okay.
Right.
So from there, I started a Facebook page, and I got some exposure that I didn't expect, and started getting some pretty good attention on Facebook. So then I started the comic strip, and I started producing heavily, like 1, 2, 3 comics, cartoons a week, and
wow.
So that's what led to a book compilation, which I started a Kickstarter for.
Right, yeah, now tell us about the Kickstarter. When did you actually start the Kickstarter, and tell me just a little bit about some of the perks for some of the people that helped donate.
Well, I started the Kickstarter, must have been early September. I started this. I had seen some other comic artists do it this way.
Okay.
And I thought, I had about 40,000 Facebook fans at the time.
Wow.
And I thought that I could probably pull it off and get a compilation of everything made. So I called it The Awkward Yeti's Complete Lack of Focus Volume 1 because it had some of my art, it has comic strips, it has some of the designs I've had on shirts. I've done a lot of t-shirt contests online, and I've had a lot printed that way. You see the fancy llama.
Absolutely.
Was a very popular one. So that's all in the book, and so I had people contribute what they could to the Kickstarter, and it was successful.
Very good. Congratulations.
So thank you. The book has been produced, and
Great.
I'm about to send out rewards, which includes like signed copies of the books, and I have small art prints, like postcard size, and a lot of different levels so that people could contribute what they wanted and help out. And so not only was I able to make the book, but I'll be doing a Comic-Con in mid-October.
Very cool.
And making things happen now.
All right, so now before you started, your own comic strip, what were some of the comic strips that maybe inspired you, or what are some of the comic strips that you grew up, reading?
Yeah, I grew up with Calvin and Hobbes and The Far Side, and both in very different ways influenced everything I do. Calvin and Hobbes is so kind of insightful and almost dark in its brilliance, a very subtle take on the absurdity of
life. That's kind of what I get out of them.
Yeah, a lot of that. Yeah, I think you see some of that reflected in my comics.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah, because a few months back we actually had an author doing a book on, and actually a documentary on Mad, the magazine.
Yeah.
So, we got to talk to him, and, he had a Kickstarter going, and everything was great with Mad magazine. Did you read any Mad growing up?
I did, yes.
Okay.
Mostly just the simple comics at the back.
Yep, those were the best, absolutely.
Yeah, Spy versus Spy.
Yes, and that was a classic, and, people in our, my generation, Spy versus Spy, not just in the Mad magazine, but like Animaniacs on Warner Brothers kind of took their own little taste of that, and so that's kind of my memories of Spy versus Spy and things like that. Growing up, as far as comic strips that I like, Andy Cap was, for some reason, I loved Andy Cap, and Ziggy was another one.
Sure.
So I remember, even when I was young, when people still read the newspaper, I always used to get the comics and read those, and those are my favorite, and like the crossword puzzles and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
So it's just like almost nostalgic, and
Yeah.
the fact that people are still out there starting comic strips and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that because, you don't see stuff like that nowadays. Everybody, I feel, thinks they're, a comedian or something
Sure.
with, social networking and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So for
There's
actually,
a lot of cheap stuff out there.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it is. It's weird to see the dying newspaper medium that you grew up with, and aspired to be a syndicated cartoonist in the newspaper.
Right.
And that was always my dream. And then, moving to the internet, as the newspaper dies out, everybody's getting their comics out there and basically not getting paid for it.
Right.
Which makes it really interesting because you get such a wide range of comics out there. Anybody can make one and put it out there.
Right.
And I think that's really cool.
Okay. Now, what are some of the trials and tribulations that you had when you were trying to put this book together? I know, a lot of people will talk to authors, and, publishing is some of the hardest, parts of actually producing the book. How did publishing go, and I guess what are some of the trials that you ran into?
Well, it actually went pretty smoothly because of the Kickstarter. I mean, it's essentially crowdfunded.
Right.
So I went straight to the printer and
Great.
printed the number of copies that made sense for my Kickstarter fund, and just enough left over to have a few to sell and give out the rewards and do the Comic-Con thing.
All right. Now, tell me a little bit about your website. We've been there. It's great. Just the, you get on there and right away you're just it's comic after comic. I love that. One of the more popular ones around our office was the jalapeno. He was jalapeno business.
That was very
That was
popular.
one of the. That's one of the best ones in the around here, anyways.
Yeah. Well, that one got a lot of attention. A lot of it went viral on Pinterest.
Great.
And yeah, some of those sillier ones do well. I like to do a variety of things. So I have like the comic that's the main focus, the Awkward Yeti comic, and you can navigate through those. And then I have those kinds of comics sort of in a blog format, so you can search through those too.
Okay, and then you sell merchandise, like you were saying, the T-shirts and stuff like that?
Yeah, I have some T-shirts for sale at yetistuff.com.
Okay.
T-shirts and prints. It's all really high-quality stuff. And also, Shirt.woot has printed maybe 21 of my designs.
Wow.
So if you look up Riffmaster 18 on there,
Okay.
you'll find a lot of my shirts.
That's your stuff? Okay.
Yep.
Now, getting back to the Awkward Yeti, I mean, it seems like, there's kind of like an ongoing series with him, and you bring a lot of the different characters back into some of the other comics. What are some of the other characters from the Awkward Yeti series?
Well, the Awkward Yeti has an older brother, Vince, who's essentially the abominable snowman. And, he's a little bit of a jerk. He's very overconfident, but it gives them a good back and forth, I think. Recently introduced Bigfoot as the reclusive celebrity cousin of Lars. So he'll be making an appearance here and there. And there are some others that are probably going to start being introduced soon.
Very cool.
I'm thinking of incorporating the Fancy Llama.
The Fancy Llama. Is that the official title of the llama, or is that a work in progress still?
It's a work in progress.
Okay.
Yeah, he has yet to be named officially, but he also has a Facebook page.
Okay, awesome. So I guess we'll have to start looking for the Fancy Llama.
The Fancy
here
Llama.
soon.
Yep.
Okay, now where can people find you? You got Facebook, website?
Yeah, theawkwardyeti.com is where you'll see all the comics. You can access the store through there, and then I'm also on Facebook. If you just look up The Awkward Yeti, or it's facebook.com/awkwardyeti.
Okay.
And I'm also on Twitter, which is @theawkwardyeti. So
you've hit all three. You've hit the big social networks.
yeah, I'm trying to get out there. Mostly on Facebook, but I'm trying to get on Twitter and Pinterest and interact with people wherever possible.
Absolutely.
So people can contact me and even send me ideas.
Okay, now what about future endeavors? I mean, you got the children's book, the comic strip. Any other books maybe coming up in the future?
Actually, yes. I'm in the process of a second children's book.
Okay.
That is kind of prequel in a way to the first children's book.
All right.
Not in a way that anybody else would notice. And then I'm considering working on a graphic novel.
Wow.
That would obviously be like a full-length story about the Awkward Yeti and get a little deeper and maybe be geared towards a little bit older age group.
Okay. All right, so stray away from the kids, maybe getting more of the tweens, or are we talking adult?
I would say all ages appropriate, but themes that are more in like teen to young adult.
All right, well, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to come visit us here on the Spotlight. Good luck with the Awkward Yeti. I think it's great. I mean, that's why we had you on the show.
Thank you.
And, we just appreciate everything.
Great, thank you very much.
Stick around. We got a musical performance by the Illiches coming up shortly. We will be right back with more Spotlight. Stick around.